Welcome to Raising the Bar podcast,
sponsored by the Ashmore Law Firm.
We're your hosts and siblings,
Gary Ashmore
and Lori Ashmore Peters.
Subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.
Welcome to our edition of Raising the Bar podcast. We have got Ashley Massey, an incredible, jack of all trades is what I'm going to say for now.
Thank you.
Global real estate advisor and author, and we're going to be hearing a lot about her book. And we are Raising the Bar podcast, sponsored by the Ashmore Law Firm with your co-host, Lori Ashmore Peters, and
Gary Ashmore.
brother and sister, not husband and wife.
Correct.
All right, so Ashley, we've known you for a while. Mm-hmm. I will say, sitting next to her on the couch, I feel very underdressed because oh my God, you're absolutely beautiful.
And dressed to the nines.
And dressed to the nines. Yes, so I'm going to have to up my game.
I guess
when
so.
I get home, I'm going to have to go through my closet or invite you to help me clean out my closet.
I've come to the understanding that we can't wait for a special day.
I love it.
So
I like that.
if you want to wear the dress or wear the jacket or the shoes, you just got to do it.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I like
Especially
that.
on this rainy day.
I like that. So when you
Agreed.
see me dressed, I'm going to tell you. Not waiting around.
Okay, all right.
You're waiting for that because you're always in a suit and tie.
I know I am. Is there a budget with this, though? Hold on.
No.
Oh, there's no budget?
No budget.
Ooh,
Yeah.
sky's the limit.
Sky's
The sky's the limit, and I keep asking, for a wardrobe
Budget?
budget, and he keeps shooting me down.
I mean, it's an expense.
Thanks.
You got to write that off.
See?
Right.
Write it
Okay.
off.
I like you more and more. Every time I talk to you, I like you even more. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself. You are a real estate, real estate
advisor,
What does
agent
that
in the
do?
DFW area. I'm also working on projects overseas. I've got partners all over the world. So yeah, I do consider myself a global agent, which is really cool.
That is fantastic. So how did you, I guess as a realtor, you go through your training, right? And there are, I imagine, a lot of realtors that just have to hit the ground running and
Yes.
create their own business, create their own buzz. And when we were talking a little bit before this podcast started, I mean, you flew off the ground from the
I
get-go.
did. I had no choice, though. I really had no choice. So prior to getting into real estate, I worked internationally. I lived overseas for about 13 years.
Ew, where was that?
So I lived in
Wow.
South Korea and then also in Germany.
What? Okay, so back up.
Wait, hold on.
back up.
Let's back up way up.
Wait
Hold
a
on.
minute.
Let's go to born and raised.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about where
Born
you're
and
from.
raised. So on a warm summer day.
Right, there we go.
Back in Billings, Montana. So
Oh,
originally born
okay.
and raised in Billings, Montana.
Okay.
Grew up there my whole life. I went to university down in Colorado. So I moved down there to the big city, to Denver.
Okay.
And I got my degree in marketing and fashion merchandising.
Okay, got it. All right.
So I knocked out 2 degrees in 3 years and then decided, let's go get an MBA. So then I moved over to South Korea, and they had a partnership program with Syracuse University.
Wow.
So I went over there. I had professors and a degree essentially from Syracuse while I was living in South Korea, which was really cool.
Okay, so how do you make that decision?
I knew I wanted to get my MBA, and I knew I didn't want to stay in America to do it.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
So, and then the opportunity presented itself that I could get an American established degree in a foreign country. And I thought, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
So coming from Montana, going to a big city, Denver, Colorado, had you ever done any international travel?
No, not up to that point.
Oh
No.
my gosh, that's a huge leap.
Yeah, it was. And I feel bad for my parents all the time because we essentially promised we're either going to go out of state for university or we're going to go abroad for a semester, but we're
Right.
not going to do both. And then end up going overseas. And I promised I'm only going to be there 18 months. I do everything fast track, obviously. So I was like, I'll get my MBA, can knock this out in 18 months full time, and then come back to America and figure that out. And then 13 years later,
Holy moly.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you speak the language when you were over there? You picked it up or no?
So, yes and no. I immediately had to learn how to read Korean,
Okay.
the Korean characters.
Oh, wow.
When I moved there was no signage in English yet. So if I needed to learn how to take the bus, I needed to figure out what my stops were. And so there was a little book that said, yes, I can read Korean in 13 minutes or 30 minutes. And the book actually worked. So I learned the alphabet within a weekend and could read and begin writing. And I couldn't always understand all of it, but I could at least have enough to be able to communicate.
Oh my goodness! Well, because
That's cool.
you did some study abroad, but yours was only 6 weeks, not
Yes,
13
no,
years.
and it was just normal Europe. It wasn't. I mean, Germany, of course.
Right,
And so
right.
after Korea, you did a Germany stint?
So while living in Korea, I was offered a professorship. So I was working at a school of business, teaching economics, finance, marketing classes.
Okay. So wait, how old are you with all of this?
So at that time, I was about 25.
Wow.
26.
Okay.
So I look younger than I am. And so I was doing that for the Korean University. Korean beauty was becoming a big hot topic, right? And so I was digging into the skincare industry while I was over there. I was a beauty blogger. I had a website. I would host events. I began working with Korean beauty companies and helping them do copyright and essentially promotional materials to Western audiences.
At the age of 25.
Wow.
What were you doing at the age of 25?
I can't even remember. No earthly idea. Probably no idea what I wanted to do in life.
I know, right?
Right?
Oh,
Yeah, it
Oh my
was.
gosh.
Yeah, it was. I mean, looking back on it, and I did that for years while I was over there. And then fast forward a few years, I was speaking at a trade show for Korean beauty and talking about Instagram and promotions online and things like that. And there was a German company in the audience, and they came up to me afterwards, and the CEO said, "Let's go get coffee tomorrow. I'm curious about you." And so I met him for coffee, and within about 3 months, they flew me to Germany. I was presenting to their team, contract manufacturing, so skincare and hair care products. They did manufacturing for that. So I was presenting to them and showing them trend research and things like that. They ended up hiring me as a consultant for a year. And then the time came where I wanted to finish my career at the university and try to move out of Korea. And so they said, "We'll relocate you anywhere you want to go. Where do you want to go?"
Wow.
And I said, "Dallas, Texas, please."
Wow.
So yeah, they sent us to Dallas.
so had you ever been to Dallas?
I came once when I was like 17 for high school.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what made you want to settle here?
Great airports, so it was easy
Yep.
Okay.
travel,
Okay.
and then no
Right.
state income tax.
Oh.
So yeah, it was just made the most sense to come back to America and land in Texas.
All right, that's wow.
Yeah,
And
wow, is right. So wait, siblings?
So my sister, she lives in Uruguay with her family.
Okay.
Okay.
And so her husband is French, and they moved down there over a decade ago, and they own a business, a Cafe Gourmand. Check them out online, and they specialize in weekend brunches, eggs Benedict, all sorts of things.
Wow.
So, yeah. So
Nice.
they've been down there raising
So
their family.
did your parents do a lot of international travel? I mean, I am enamored by this.
I guess it must be just let's get out of Montana. I don't know, right? What happened?
Yeah, something like that. So, but it's been great for my parents. They've been able to go all over the world.
Of course.
So we've been through all parts of Asia, all parts of Europe, down to Uruguay, Argentina, all over the place. So they love it.
Okay, so I am going to hold your, and we're going to talk about this in a second, but I mean, talking to you, you definitely fast track
Anything.
everything
Just
you
pick
touch.
it.
Oh
right.
my gosh.
I know.
Well, it was interesting, and it's like a blessing and a curse, because when I was living in Asia, obviously age is very important, right? And hierarchies and things like that. And so I would go into job interviews to present what I do, and they would argue with me about my dates, and they say, "No, you couldn't do that fast. Like how could you accomplish all of those things at such a young age?" And I'm like, "Well, this is what I do. I get my mind on something and I go and I do it."
Wow. Okay,
That's
so
great.
you've always had that I'm going to say mentality? Mm-hmm. All right. So your younger self, what's like the most outrageous thing that you set your mind to and you just did it?
Oh, that's a great question.
I mean, I don't know. Something tells me there's got to be something that's a little outrageous out there that you set your mind to.
Yeah, I mean, we were hustling Beanie Babies when I was 13. That was pretty
that's
cool.
right.
So yeah, we made
Back in
enough
its
money to
heyday.
buy my sister and I split our first car.
Oh.
And so that was fun.
Off of
Beanie Babies
Beanie
was
Babies.
huge. That was a huge
I
fan.
still have
Wow.
about 600 in my garage if
There-
anyone needs
there we
any.
go.
My goodness. Oh,
Let's
my
value
goodness.
them at what? $10,000 a piece.
I mean,
don't
we're
know,
helping.
something.
You know, we got that
Right.
Princess Diana. I'm like, Faith, my daughter. I'm
Right.
like, this is your tuition one day.
Wow.
We still have
Oh, my
it.
goodness.
So,
That's great.
yeah, it's
You know,
fun.
that is amazing because my mother-in-law, I mean, she collected dolls, but Barbies.
Oh,
and
yes.
she
Oh,
still
same.
has all of the Barbies in the original packaging. And my daughter's like, that's what I want. And so now I have the tubs in my office of just Barbies. But
Barbies.
yeah, you hope that they keep their
You have
value.
and I still have my holiday Barbies from like the 90s through, and they're still in boxes, perfectly packaged. It wasn't Christmas if you got a toy that you couldn't play with.
Right,
Yes.
right.
Right, that's
Oh
right.
my gosh.
So yeah, but I loved doing the Beanie Babies when I was in middle school, I think at the time, and I learned about entrepreneurship. We had scheduling of UPS deliveries, and we had like our top 10 list of retailers
my
that we would
goodness.
go to, and I was calling them on the phone, and to be doing that at 13, 14 years old,
that's unheard of.
it's crazy to think
That
about.
is unheard
But I
of.
really do believe it set me up to know, okay, this is what I want to do. Entrepreneurship in some form, and it's just taken so many different forms.
Wow. Okay. So
So you moved to Dallas.
right.
Then what?
But wait, you moved to Dallas still in fashion, or
So no, I moved to Dallas with
the
the,
company, the
contract
German
manufacturer
company.
from Germany.
Right.
So I was heading up their international marketing for skincare and
got
hair
it,
care.
skincare. There we go.
products.
Okay.
So what we would do is essentially we would go and see what was on the shelves, what ingredients were trending, and then we would reformulate products to our clients in Europe, and essentially pitch those products to them.
Wow. Great market.
Yeah, it was very interesting. So I traveled all the time. I absolutely loved it. Yeah, it was great. And then COVID hit.
Okay. COVID.
there we
hit.
go.
I was going to say, so when did you move to Dallas?
So I moved
What
to
year?
Dallas in 2018.
Okay, 2018.
So
All
I
right.
moved to Dallas in 2018 and, rock and rolled and loved that. And then once COVID hit, I was going through a divorce at that time as well.
Okay.
And so COVID hit, and my boss and I had a conversation. They were going to expand here in the United States. They couldn't move forward with that. And so we just kind of had a heart to heart and said, as much as we love what you do, the timing just isn't going to work anymore.
Okay. Right.
And so we had that conversation the following year, so in 21. And after that conversation, I got online, I went to Champions, registered for classes, and I already had my URL, so youwantamove.com. And I said, I'm going into real estate.
wow.
Okay. So what made you choose real estate?
Right.
I knew that would always be the next step. I just
Okay.
didn't know when.
Okay. You just didn't know when. All right.
So
Got it.
it was like, okay, not going to work in Germany anymore. Real estate's the next step. It was always going to be the next step.
Okay.
And commercial or residential? What was the goal? Okay. So
Yep,
the goal was always
residential
residential.
Was always the goal.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I
Why?
considered both, and I do a little commercial, but I don't want to be mediocre at anything. I want to be the best at what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt I would be too drawn out to understand both to a degree that I wanted to know the market's at.
Right.
So what made you think what made you know real estate was your goal?
So my dad sold real estate way back in the day, like back in the 70s. And so we always talked about it. It was always one of those things that, like, oh, you should get licensed. And even when I was in high school and college, like, you should consider this, you should consider this. But, I wanted to go and live my life and do all the things. And so when it presented itself, something in my heart knew, like, this is what I'm going to do next.
Right.
And so everybody knew about it.
Okay.
So I went online, I signed up for classes, and I was just telling everyone, I'm getting licensed. I was still working for the German company at this time because of the time schedules. I could take my classes. I did it all online. I could still manage everything I needed to for the role and the tasks that I had. So, I mean, I was doing it all.
Right.
Dang, rocking and rolling.
Yes.
Man,
it
I
was a
think I
lot.
feel like a slouch.
Okay, but this is rocking and rolling. At some point, obviously, you're married. You're going through a divorce. You have a child.
Yep. I had bought a house too.
Okay.
And then that was not a great experience, to be honest. And so after I had purchased the house, that was also kind of one of those things that said, this is kind of an industry that needs a little elevating, is what I like to say.
Of course.
And so I got through the transaction, and I kind of, saw behind the curtain a little bit and said, yeah, this is interesting. This is kind of presenting something to me.
Okay.
Right.
And so, so what year did you get licensed?
So I got licensed in the fall of 21.
When did you sell your first home?
I sold my home in January.
This past January.
No, January 22.
Oh, of 22. Ah, okay.
So I got officially licensed in November. I think it was like November 18th.
Right.
And then I had my first client. We did our buyer's rep like 2 weeks later. And then they were under contract and bought their house in January.
Wow, like that's fast.
It was fast. It was fast.
That is very
and
fast.
To this day, I love and appreciate them so much. And they continue to say, Ashley, had we not known you before, we would have thought you were always doing this. Like, we knew we were your first clients, right?
Right.
And they're my peers, and so they knew my life and all of my roles and all of those things before. So for them to say, had we not known all of that, you always carried yourself with such professionalism and you had such mannerisms to your whole buyer consultation, your whole process. They said we would have never known.
So when did you get into the international market?
So the international market has always kind of been in my heart because I lived overseas and, my relationships with my business in Germany and all of those things. But I do have a friend that's an agent down in Cozumel.
Okay.
So her and I are working on some projects. So we've got a couple condo build-outs that are going on right now. We've got
nice.
some raw land that we're marketing. And so that's really exciting. And then with the brokerage that I'm at currently, we have international partners all over the world.
Okay.
And so with our international partnership, it makes it really easy for me to get on the phone. I've sent clients to Dubai this year, which was really exciting.
Okay.
I've had some clients from Japan come to us here to do some discussion. So it's been really exciting.
Wow.
Wow,
Okay.
never a dull moment.
Never
Okay,
a dull moment.
we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, fast track, like I'm exhausted. I am exhausted
know,
of hearing
just hearing
everything
your
you've
story.
done. And I'm like, man,
Let me tell
I
you about
haven't-
a Tuesday.
I haven't done anything.
Right.
But when we
That's
come
only
back,
Monday.
we're going to get into the author side of Ashley, and we'll be right back.
And when you walk into the Ashmore Law Firm, you instantly feel comfortable, welcomed, and at home.
She helped me to upgrade the documents that we worked on in ways that truly worked for me and for my future.
At the Ashmore Law Firm, we don't just practice law, we raise the bar. Our mission goes beyond the courtroom. It's about making a real difference in our community.
Giving back is at the heart of who we are. Whether we're supporting veterans organizations, championing children's advocacy, or cleaning and revitalizing local parks, we're all in. That's also why we started our Raising the Bar podcast. We amplify the voices of those making a difference. So if there's someone you know who's making a difference in our community, nominate them. Let's share their story.
Now, a little bit about us. We are the Ashmore Law Firm, a family-owned practice with over 30 years of experience in estate planning, probate, family law, and personal injury.
Founded by our father, Judge Joe Ashmore Jr.,
We are proud to continue his legacy of integrity, dedication, and community service.
when you work with us, you don't just get one attorney. You get the combined expertise and support of our entire team. It's a collaborative approach that ensures you're never facing challenges alone. We're here to guide you through life's most important moments with compassion and respect.
Being family-owned means we understand the value of relationships. We treat every client like they're part of our family because that's how our father built this firm, on trust and genuine care.
We're here to support you, your family, and the causes that strengthen our community. And if you ever have a legal question or need guidance, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help.
And don't forget, you can catch us on our Raising the Bar podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts and watch us on YouTube. Visit raisingthebartexas.com for more information and stay connected. At the Ashmore Law Firm, we are raising the bar for you, your family, and our community.
Okay.
All right, so we are back with Ashley Massey. Okay, so when we took our break, we're gonna take a quick time out and not get to the book just yet because we're gonna get to the personal side of who Ashley Massey is.
Right.
We've heard the professional side, but there's one interesting thing on the personal side. So you mentioned a cold during our break, and of course that piques
Right.
our interest. Okay, so what, where, how old are you?
Oh man, all of the things. Okay, so some people do find the word cult offensive. So we
Correct.
could say like a radical religious organization.
Okay.
I guess is maybe like the best way to say it. But yeah, so when I was living in South Korea, looking for community, right? And just
Okay.
looking for some place that I can call home and some place that I can fit into. So I found this organization through some friends and joined in, and yeah, I had a wild time.
Oh, okay. Did you know what it was?
Of course not. And
Okay.
everyone always says that. They're like, when did you actually like realize this? And I have to say that I realized I was in an organization that was not what we would want to call like mainstream, if you will, when I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I had known I wasn't necessarily happy in the situation that I was in, but I also
Okay.
knew like I made those choices. So I'm very much promoter of radical personal responsibility. So you've made the choices, you need to deal with the consequences of your life. But then when I found out I was pregnant, I realized that my daughter, didn't necessarily choose this situation to be in, right? Having
Okay.
an unhappy mom and things like that. So how do I remove or get myself out of a situation when I'm in a foreign country? I don't have a lot of support system. My entire life is this organization that I'm around. What is that going to look like?
Okay.
So wait, so you're married over there,
Correct.
and what is your husband doing at the time?
So he was also a professor at a university.
Okay, okay, I got it. All right.
Yep. So, and we were at the same university for many years. And then I got kind of promoted to a new role at a different university.
Okay.
And so there was a little less control, a little less oversight happening
Okay.
with me being able to have a life on a different campus and
Right.
things like that. So yeah, so I mean, looking back, it's very interesting that I had to go through all of those things to get to where I am, the woman that I am today. Because I know if I didn't go through and experience any of that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be in the success that I'm in now.
You know, a lot of times people ask, do you have any regrets, or would you have chosen a different path? And I would tell them no, because the path,
Right.
I mean, the path I chose led me to where I am today. I mean, it led me to my husband, kids, and so I have no regrets with that. I wouldn't change that for the world.
Exactly.
But it also makes you stronger, right? I guess unfortunately they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
That's right.
And always finding the silver linings when you're in the midst of just, tragedy or interpersonal conflict.
Right.
So was it radical on a political side or on a religious side, or
I would say it was more radical on the requests put on those in the organization. So
Okay.
the things that we were asked or required to do, whether it was certain types of self-discipline, fasting, certain types of donations needed to the organization,
right.
those types of things. Giving up certain jobs because they interfered with what you were called to do in the organization.
Okay.
So it was just looking back like, wow. I mean, I did learn some unusual disciplines, I guess, like waking
Right.
up at 4:00 in the morning to pray and traveling 2 hours both ways to go to the meetings or things. So it was definitely interesting. But yeah, so glad to have been able to see that things weren't right and
Right.
then make the decision to get out.
because there are some people who don't.
Exactly.
Right? They're
And I couldn't have done that without the German company finding me
Right.
essentially and giving me the opportunity to leave. Because I had been applying for jobs to be able to leave the country for years.
Okay.
And nothing was ever, God's will for me to go.
Right.
And so when this German company presented the offer that they did, there was really like no way anyone could stop me at that point. But we did go and speak to our authorities and get permission before we could leave. And that was an interesting experience. But I could just feel that this was my out.
right.
Okay.
Okay.
Like a lot of pushback?
No, surprisingly not.
Okay.
Surprisingly not. Because it was so good of an offer and so just unusual to ever get presented what I was presented, that opportunity, that everyone was like, oh, this is of something higher.
Okay.
Right? So, So, I mean, we were blessed to leave, and within 4 months packed up everything that we had and back to America we came.
Oh, very
Wow.
nice.
Okay. So how close were you to the DMZ, right? The
Demilitarized zone.
Right.
We were a couple hours south, but we had exit plans. We had, about 6 months worth of food in our house if we needed it. We had bug out bags. We had, if, we had no communication, these are maps and this is what we would take and these are meeting points. And it was...
So it's a real thing over there.
It was a real thing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Because what we hear over here is probably isn't half of what life's really like over there, and you're living it. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was definitely, that was a whole nother interesting aspect onto to being over there and kind of having life in South Korea.
Right. Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
All right. So
that's that.
Okay, that's that. Dang it. All right. So now we're gonna get back to the professional side.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So you have written a book, Fast Track Agent, Set Up for Success in Real Estate in 90 Days. Wow. Well, hearing everything I've heard, I don't doubt 90 days.
No, correct. Probably less for her, but
right.
yes, go ahead.
So what made you want to write this book?
So I got essentially the feeling that I needed to write this book after I had the same conversation with new agents about like 10 times in a row within a matter of just a few weeks. And so agents were finding me online. They were finding me through Facebook groups and through Instagram. And they were saying, hey, can I, pick your brain for 20 minutes? I want to get licensed, or I'm new in the industry and I don't know what to do. And I realized I can't keep having the same conversation. And if I'm having the same conversation, clearly there's a lack of information, right? So when we go through the process of getting licensed, we are taught how to read contracts, and even that's a little iffy sometimes. We're taught how to not get sued, right? We're basically taught, like weird history of real estate that doesn't apply anymore. Mm-hmm. But we're not taught how to actually run a business. Like when you get licensed, if you had a client come up to you the next day, most agents would have no idea what to do. Okay. They have no system in place. They have no client experience set up. They would just be deer in the headlights, which is unfortunate for any client that would come up to a brand new agent and say, hey, I want you to represent me, because are you capable of doing that representation to your fullest ability? Right.
So sounds like law school.
Oh yeah. You get out not
you learn
knowing
nothing.
what to do. No.
Yeah. You have no idea what to do. You have a license, and they're like, okay, here, go.
And you
Go where?
Go where?
Where are we going?
Where?
Right. Mm-hmm. It's awful. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I mean, when I got my license, I had been interviewing brokerages before I even got licensed. And I was taking my classes to do the test prep. And there were other students in the class, and they're like, oh, we should be interviewing now? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, like you should take your test and then you get your license and then you just jump into it. And they're like, oh, well, I was going to take the exam and then maybe take a few months off. And, it's the end of the year. So I have like holiday plans, and I don't understand. Like, why would you be doing this if like you don't want to do this? And the amount of complaining for being in a 2-day test prep class that you volunteered to be, you're paying to be at, and they're like, oh, we've got to stay late. Oh, the class is going over. I'm like, y'all, none of you are cut out to do this.
Right.
I can tell you that. And so I was just kind of shocked, but I shouldn't be shocked, but just so surprised that nobody really knew what to do once they took their exam.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at brokerage houses, though, are there those that at that point do you determine, hey, I want to do high end, I want to do low end, I want to do housing that's for low income? I mean, how do you decide as an agent just what you want to get into?
Yeah, I always tell new agents, look at what is the culture of the broker.
Okay.
So what type of support system are you going to have, and what type of education are they going to provide? Because again, as a brand new agent, you can't run out and sell a $5 million house successfully. It's not going to end well for you or your clients.
Right.
You need to go and get training, and you need to get educated, and you need to build up your systems and have a strong client experience. And then once you have that, then you can try to shift into a different, either whether it's a different price point or a different location or market, but you want to get your foundation set.
Okay.
Right. So what's your market as far as your average home, or what's the low end and high end of homes that you're selling, I guess, right?
Yeah. So like I say, I sell a luxury experience at all price points. So
Okay.
no matter what client comes to me, whether it's, a $100,000 home to a $10 million home, like I will serve all areas at a very high level. So the furthest
Right.
I've traveled
Okay.
is Paris, Texas.
Okay.
So I do about a 2-hour radius all around the DFW area.
Oh, okay.
I'm always very open with my clients. If I don't feel geographically competent, I'm not going to serve you. I'm always
Right.
going to refer it out. I am also licensed in Oklahoma. So as soon as I got licensed in Texas, I was licensed in Oklahoma about 3 months later. And so I serve up in the Lake Texoma area as well.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So the book, what's the book about then?
So the book is essentially setting up for success in 90 days. It is a step-by-step guide. It's broken out into weeks
Okay.
for agents to be able to essentially go from, hey, yay, congratulations, I got licensed, to having systems in place, to understanding what their client experience is, to really understanding what the market is. Because again, your broker isn't telling you to go study your net sheets, to go study, your days on market in your area, or what's the inventory. If you're not waking up to do that, no one's going to tell you.
Right.
And
Okay.
so, and even the most basic things, change your voicemail when you get licensed, right? Making sure that your Instagram and your social media is kind of cleaned up how you want it to be.
And those are things people don't think about.
No, they don't. So I was going to ask you, are you active on social media? And if so,
do.
what are your handles? I mean, go ahead and share with everyone.
Yeah,
how
absolutely. So you
people
can
get hold
find
of
me
you.
everywhere online at So You Want to Move. On Instagram, it's at So You Want to Move _. And then I also have Fast Track Agent on Instagram. And then my website is So You Want to Move.
So you want to move. WANNA.
Yep.
So you want to move, not want to move, but want to
Wanna.
move.
Wanna.
Wanna.
You want to
There's
move?
a difference between wanna and want to.
There's no
And
doubt.
I, like
I
wanna.
agree. I prefer wanna
I
as
definitely
well.
like wanna.
So You Want to Move.
Yeah.
All right, so
like it.
you've been doing this now since 2020,
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
It really is, because we have an 87% failure rate in my industry,
Okay.
right?
Wow.
So
All right.
people will get in. I'm one of the last agents standing for who I knew when I first started. And so it's a tough industry. I talk about it in my book. It's called The 2-Year Suck. The first 2 years are relentless and terrible if you're not ready for it. And I find a lot of agents will get into the industry and they just won't be financially ready for it. Sometimes I hear agents, I'm on my last dollar, so I'm going to get licensed.
Right.
Don't do that. The startup costs of being a real estate agent are so expensive. No one talks about it. It's really easy to get licensed. Anyone can go and do that. But your fees, your broker dues, all of your MLS access, your key box access, your marketing fees, I mean, everything just, it starts to add up.
It adds
and so
up,
if you
of
don't
course.
have a budget, if you don't understand the finances that are going to push you in that business for the next 2 years, really reconsider it, because you could go 6 weeks without a paycheck. You could go 6 months. You could go 12 months without a paycheck. We are 100% commission based,
right.
right? I pay my own health insurance. I pay my own car, my gas, all of those things. And you can work with buyers for months and never get them to the closing table. And
Right.
all of that is out of pocket cost.
And that's, I mean, that as attorneys, you don't think about that.
No, not at
I
all.
really
Right.
was truly just, if you're kind of not sure what you want to do, go get your license and become a realtor. But it's not that easy. It is by no means that easy.
So what's an average number of homes sold a month, a year for a realtor to be break even or successful, or right? Is there how do you categorize it?
How do you categorize success? You know?
Well, I guess true. So if you sell two $10 million homes that year, then you've had a great year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for some, if you've sold 3 homes at $450 a year, you've had a great year, you know?
Okay.
So it's really hard, because people will ask me all the time, Ashley, how's your business? My business is great. Ask
Right.
the agent next to me and they've had a terrible year.
See, right.
So
Okay.
it's so hard to determine that.
Okay. See, that's interesting.
But
yeah,
you
people have
truly
no
love
idea.
what you do.
I do. Oh, absolutely.
And that's what we always tell people. You have to have a passion
That's
and
right.
love what you do because life is way too short.
Not to.
Exactly.
Correct.
Not
Well,
to, yeah.
and because you're going to be schlepping all over the city at some point in time for buyers that are just going to ghost you at the end of it. And you have to be okay with that, and you can't take it personally, and you can't make it mean anything about you. I know I'm awesome at what I do. I know I'm
Right.
great at what I do. I have a great customer experience. So if my buyers want to ghost me at the end of the day because they think someone else can get the house for a better price, I guarantee you they're not going to get that
Right.
house for
Right.
a better
That's
price.
right.
I've had clients leave me only to call me 2 months later and say like, "Hey, we made a mistake." Well, yeah, obviously you made a mistake because you're calling me. And so yeah, I mean, I always say who you work with matters.
It does.
Whether it's a real estate agent, whether it's a law firm,
Right.
no matter what, who you work with matters. So don't be so concerned about those, the nickel and diming up front, because
right.
if you have someone that can negotiate on your behalf, that can understand what the contracts are looking like, that can understand and walk you through inspection processes and due diligence, you're going to save that weight in gold.
Right.
No, you are, and that's. I mean, you approach your business the way we approach our business. Is
Correct.
I mean, I'll talk to potential clients, and I'm like, go interview 10 attorneys. Like, I have no
Right.
problem with that. And I know either you're going to be back or you're going to choose one that may not cost as much, but you're going to be back. And sure enough,
That's
whether
right.
it's a month or
They
whether
do.
it's 6 months or 2 years later, the phone rings and they're like, "You remember me?" And it's like, "Oh, of course I do."
Of course
I
we
do.
Right.
But I'm
Right.
here for you
I'm here
because
for
I
you,
love what I
yeah.
do and I'm here to
Yes.
help.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So, what advice would you give your younger self? That's a good one.
is a
Oh,
good
I
one for
love
her.
that. What advice would I give my younger self? Max out all of your investments as soon as you can every year.
Okay.
So like when you're, 18, you can get your first IRA, like start doing that, max it out every single year. Compounding interest is your best friend. And I knew that as a younger self, and I did it really well, but I could have done better.
Okay. Right.
I love that.
Oh, that's good.
I'm
that is
gonna
very
t-
good.
My daughter's
You
about
need to tell
turn
both your
18.
kids that.
I am.
Right.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Okay. All right. What else you want to cover?
So how many homes have you sold in your entire real estate life?
Oh, that's a great question. Let me add that. Almost 40.
Okay, so
Wow,
you
that's
give
good.
the ultimate luxury experience, right? But who has been you don't need to name names, but what is a situation where you've had your best buyer and client and your worst?
Oh, that is a great question. Ooh, so best buyer clients, I would say I met a family hosting an open house, and they were absolutely wonderful, and they didn't want the house I was hosting open. They wanted the neighbor's house. So we went to the neighbor's house that was for sale and got him that house.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
Yeah,
That's cool.
And that was really cool because, you're hosting open houses week in, week out, and, do you get the client? Do you not get the client? You have to just do it consistently, right? And so, I'd been hosting open houses, that was this year, so 3 years at
Wow,
this
so they
point.
come to you and they say, "Ashley, we love this house, but this isn't the house
This
we
isn't
want.
the house
We want that one."
Yes, but they didn't even know about that one. I told them about that one.
Okay.
I said, okay, if you don't love this house, there's all these other houses that are in the neighborhood, X, Y, and Z. They said, oh, we're interested in that one. Okay, let's go check that out. I can't right now because I'm hosting an open house and I have safety protocols.
Right.
But
Okay.
let me get your name and your information. I'm hosting an open house tomorrow. I can meet you beforehand and we can go see that other house.
Do a lot of realtors have that foresight, I guess, to
if they're
handle
good.
If
right,
they're
to
good,
handle a
right.
buyer like that?
So, and again, I have very strong safety procedures in my business. I will not just go open up a door for someone that I've met at an open house.
Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
they said, can we go see it right now? Unfortunately, my schedule is full. I can't see it right now, but give me your information. I'll reach out to you and we can schedule to see it tomorrow. I am very adamant about not being a Pop-Tart agent and not running to open doors until I can do some due diligence. So when I get client names, I run them through an app and I do background checks and I make sure that I know who I'm working with and that the people around me know where I'm going to be
Oh, nice.
and
Good
who
for
I'm
you.
going to be with.
That's
So
smart.
I get driver's licenses. They get a profile put through my internal systems. So if something were to ever happen to me, God forbid, there is a paper trail of who I've been seeing and who I've
Right,
been
of
communicating
course.
with.
That is
Okay.
oh, wow.
Okay, so has anyone ever come up to you and said, I want this house?
That's
and it's
not
not
for
on the
sale.
market, correct?
I have not had to do and I want this house and we need to convince them to sell it.
Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Not yet.
All right.
Are you opposed to that?
No.
Oh, good.
Oh, wait a minute.
I may give you a few addresses that I
right.
like.
Yeah.
Go talk to them. Tell them they need to sell their house.
Absolutely. And I tell my clients, if they have a
great.
certain neighborhood that they want to be in, like we want to be in this district, I will
Right.
send letters. I've sent mass mailers out to
Okay.
neighborhoods and say, hey, I've got a buyer that's interested. These are the specific criterias that they want.
Oh, okay.
Reach out to me, give me a number.
Mm-hmm.
Which is different than all of the texts we receive saying, "Hey, we want to buy your house."
Right. No, that's
And
exactly right.
I respond to some to say, "Hey, if you want to, I am considering no less than X amount."
Right. That's right.
Everyone has their amount.
I mean,
Everyone has their
Everybody
price.
Everybody has their
Everybody has
dollar.
their
Yeah.
price. That's right.
Okay, so worst client experience you've had.
So worst experience, I was showing some properties and so we had a property tour scheduled and so it was in like the $200,000 price point. And we go to one of the homes and we knock on the door and I've got a showing scheduled and someone opens the door and I say, "Oh, are you the owners?" "Well, we're not the owners, we're the tenants of the home." And I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I'm supposed to I've got like a showing scheduled to come in." "Well, you can come on in, that's fine." So we go into the house and my buyer, I won't go into the details of the things we saw in the house.
Oh my
But my buyer kind of nudges me and she's like, "Ashley, is this one of those where we have to do like a courtesy walk?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Okay, we got to go now." So we turned around and walked
Wow.
out.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a tough one. It was a tough house.
wow.
For sure. And so definitely investor special if you wanted to do a big fix
Yep.
up on it.
Oh, right, of course.
But yeah, it was really funny because she's like, "Do we have to do the courtesy walkthroughs that we've talked about?" Because, you never want to offend anyone. But then
Right.
there's also like, this home wasn't necessarily safe for us to be in with other people there at that time.
Okay.
I also
Makes
had my
sense.
intern with me at that time, so that was a lot
Okay.
of fun.
Oh,
That was
there you
a
go.
great experience
yeah.
for him because he got to see real estate from one extreme to the other during
Right.
his time here, which was really cool.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Okay. All right. So how would you say you raise the bar? Well, clearly we've been talking about how you raise the bar professionally and personally, but in a sentence or two, how would you raise the bar professionally and personally?
So for me, raising the bar, it means eliminating excuses. And that is something that I live by and I hold really close to me. Just eliminate the excuses and you can do anything,
Right.
And I feel like we sometimes will sit with whether it's our excuses or our limiting beliefs on what we can achieve or accomplish in life. And if you just get rid of that bar goes high and you can do anything.
Anything. Great.
I mean, I love
it.
that. And so we had our Women in Business event up here, and we did a short podcast with Darlene Ellison, who started all of that. But like we talked about there, she has the women-owned businesses, the group of us that want to, I guess, have a door prize, right? And I don't know if you were downstairs.
I missed it. I don't know what you're talking
So
about.
I mean,
tell me what you're talking about.
Ash. So we did the baskets,
Right,
which
okay.
I am rethinking after you
Oh, no.
did yours. I'm like, damn.
Okay, what'd she do?
She goes up and she goes, "I am your door prize. A lunch with me."
Wait, I like that. Hold on.
Yes.
Can I do that?
It
Can I
was
get away with
wonderful.
that?
Oh my God. Yes. I mean,
Do I get to pick who? Can I give you my demographic of?
No,
of
no,
what?
no, no, no,
Oh,
no.
come on.
No, you have to draw the number out of the bowl. It's a door prize. But I have to say, I have never seen that
great.
before, heard that before. But I'm just like, damn, that that's someone that you need to know. You're just like the entire
it was so
package.
much fun too. So I called her
Have you done it
afterwards.
yet?
Yeah,
Have you gone?
Yep, we went out to lunch. We went to a great little restaurant in Uptown, and we had appetizers and drinks and food.
Oh,
and she just had a
wow.
blast. And
Wow.
so it was a really great time to be able to take that connection, because that's another thing that's really important to me is networking intentionally. So
Yeah.
you go to these events and you meet all of these people, and then you've got to take that connection and you've got to take it offline, and you've got to meet them in a more intimate setting. And I've actually made quite a few clients intentionally networking. And so I just love that. And we can kind of meet and discuss and make those connections. And it's amazing.
I hope
That's
you don't
great.
mind, but I'm stealing that from you.
Please do. Please do. But make sure you've got to make a cute little gift certificate for it as well. It's really fun.
Absolutely. All right, Ashley. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being on
Thank
our podcast.
you guys so much. I appreciate this a
Yep,
lot.
this has been
Yeah.
amazing. So
Wow.
is there anything else we want to cover? Anything else you want to cover that we want to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, you
Okay.
guys know I appreciate you greatly. I think of the Ashmore team as my family.
So how'd you
guys-
find us?
So
don't
I
remember.
met you through a Women in Business event years
That's right.
ago.
That's right. Okay.
It was after COVID, and I had gone through my divorce at that point in time, and I said, these are people that I wish I had on my side.
Right.
And so
Appreciate that.
you have been just amazing for me.
Thanks to our sponsor, the Ashmore Law Firm.
We specialize in probate, estate planning, family law, guardianship, personal injury, and civil litigation.
You can find us at ashmorelaw.com.
Or by calling us at 214-559-7202.
Again, that's ashmorelaw.com.
Or calling 214-559-7202.